Okay, let's jump right into this explainer because today we're going on a journey. We're looking at the fascinating step-by-step biological roadmap of human digestion. I mean, we all eat every single day, right? But have you ever stopped to wonder what actually happens inside you after you take that very first bite? Well, today we're going to trace the exact path your food takes, breaking down this absolute marvel of machinery that keeps you alive and energized.
Here is the roadmap for today's explainer. 1. The fast food problem. 2. Mouth and food pipe. 3. The stomach's acid factory. 4. Small intestine and helpers. 5. Large intestine and anus. And 6. Real food versus junk food. Section 1. The fast food problem. Sonu's city struggle. Take Sonu, for example. He's a village boy who grew up with absolutely perfect gut health. But when he moved to the city, his new diet of fast food, like momos, completely wrecked his digestion. It got so bad he had to go to the doctor just to figure out why his body was suddenly failing him.
To explain what was going wrong, his doctor pointed out a truly massive number: 675. An average person processes roughly 675 kilograms of food every single year. That's about 1.5 to 2 kilos of food a day. Your digestive system has this monumental, non-stop task of deciding what becomes high-value fuel for your energy and what gets expelled as waste.
Section 2. Mouth and food pipe. Digestion begins before you bite. And honestly, it really does. Digestion actually kicks off before the food even touches your mouth. Sometimes just smelling or even thinking about a good meal triggers your body into action. Now check out the 3 major salivary glands we have here. You've got the parotid, the submandibular, and the sublingual glands. Working right alongside your tongue, which forcefully moves the food around to mix it all up, these glands pump out saliva. But this saliva isn't just water. It contains antibodies to actively kill germs and an enzyme called amylase that literally starts breaking down carbohydrates the second they're in your mouth. Once you've thoroughly chewed your food and mixed it up with that powerful saliva, it actually gets a new scientific name. It's called the bolus. So for the rest of this journey down the digestive tract, this little chewed up ball of food, that is our main character. So as you swallow the bolus, this brilliant little flap called the epiglottis swings shut, acting perfectly as a trapdoor to block your windpipe so you don't choke. The bolus is then safely directed right down into the food pipe, also known as the esophagus, which travels straight down through your diaphragm muscle to reach your stomach.
But here's the cool part. Once it's in the esophagus, gravity isn't the only thing pulling that food down. Your food pipe uses this special movement called peristalsis. These are involuntary, wave-like muscle contractions that actively squeeze and push the bolus downward. Fun fact here, because of peristalsis, you could theoretically eat and swallow a bolus while hanging completely upside down. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it, but your body could do it.
Section 3. The stomach's acid factory. Chemical breakdown. And right off the bat, let's clear up a massive misconception. Your actual stomach isn't down in your lower belly fat. It sits much higher up, tucked right underneath your ribs. Inside that stomach is a highly corrosive environment. Believe it or not, your body naturally produces about 1.5 to 2 liters of hydrochloric acid over a day or two just to break down the bolus. Which of course brings up 2 pretty wild trivia questions. First, if there's so much insanely strong acid in there, why doesn't it just burn right through our own stomach walls? And second, if we do a headstand, why doesn't that pool of acid just leak back up our food pipe and out of our mouths? Well, the answers lie in your body's brilliant defense systems. To stop the acid from burning you, the inside of your stomach is thickly coated with mucus. This mucus shield entirely protects the stomach lining. And to keep the acid from falling out when you're upside down, right where the food pipe meets the stomach, there is a super tight ring of muscle called the lower esophageal sphincter, or LES. It basically acts as a one-way trapdoor. It opens up to let the bolus drop in and then violently snaps shut to keep all that acid trapped safely inside.
Once everything is trapped inside, the stomach really goes to work. It actually churns and physically mashes the food every 20 seconds. At the very same time, the acid converts a substance called pepsinogen into an active enzyme called pepsin, which literally tears apart the proteins in your bolus. The acid also acts as a heavy-duty sanitizer, killing off harmful bacteria. And this, by the way, is exactly why it's advised not to chug a ton of water right around mealtime. Doing that dilutes the stomach acid, making it way harder to break down food and kill those germs. Also, if you overeat, your stomach gets way too stretched out to do its 20-second churning effectively. After about 2 to 4 hours of this intense acid bath and churning, the bolus is totally transformed. It's no longer a solid ball, it's now this pulpy, acidic fluid called chyme. At the very bottom of the stomach, another muscular valve called the pyloric sphincter carefully opens up, just enough to allow this chyme to exit the stomach and continue its journey. Section 4. Small intestine and helpers. The absorption station. This is where we shift from breaking food down to actually absorbing its nutrients. Now prepare yourself for a mind-blowing statistic. The small intestine is anything but small when it comes to length. It is roughly 20 to 22 feet long. That is more than 3 times the height of an average adult, all coiled up tightly inside your abdomen, even though it's only about the width of your middle finger. The small intestine is broken into 3 distinct sections. First up is the duodenum, which is that C-shaped curve right after the stomach. Then you have the jejunum, which absorbs vital minerals like iron and magnesium. Finally, the ileum absorbs zinc for your immune system and calcium for your bones and hair. But how does it actually absorb them? Well, the inner walls are lined with millions of tiny finger-like projections called villi. These little villi act like sponges, pulling the nutrients straight out of the chyme and into your blood capillaries so they can be distributed throughout your entire body. But the small intestine doesn't do all this work alone. It relies heavily on these helpers, major organs located outside the main digestive tube. Your liver, for instance, which is one of the largest organs you have, is constantly producing a substance called bile. Bile is absolutely essential for breaking down fats. This bile is stored in the gallbladder. Meanwhile, your pancreas is busy producing some incredibly powerful digestive enzymes. So when you eat, the gallbladder and pancreas dump these crucial chemicals straight into the duodenum through little ducts, and that's what makes all that nutrient absorption possible. Section 5. Large intestine and anus, the final stages. At this point, the remaining waste leaves the small intestine and enters the large intestine, also known as the colon, right near a small pouch-like structure you've probably heard of called the appendix. Take a look at the stark pacing differences on this timeline. Food spends just a few hours in the stomach and the small intestine, but the leftover waste material spends a whopping 30 to 40 hours, slowly moving its way through the large intestine. During this massive window of time, the large intestine has one main job: to slowly absorb any remaining water back into your body so you don't dehydrate, and to add mucus to the waste to help it pass smoothly. Finally, through some major peristaltic movements that happen just a few times a day, the waste reaches the rectum at the very end of the descending colon. Here we encounter the 2 final sphincters of the anus. The internal anal sphincter is involuntary. It holds the waste back automatically without you even thinking about it. But the external anal sphincter, that is completely under your voluntary control. That is literally the muscle that saves you when you feel the urge to go, but you're stuck in traffic 15 minutes away from a bathroom. You clench that external sphincter to keep everything safely inside until you are good and ready. Section 6. Real food versus junk food. The conclusion. Bringing this all back to Sanu, his doctor explained that this entire intricate system we just walked through is heavily influenced by the quality of the food you put into it. See, when Sona was back in his village eating traditional whole wheat roti, his stomach easily processed it in about 2 hours. Everything flowed perfectly. But in the city, eating highly processed junk like refined flour momos forced his stomach to struggle for 4 to 6 hours. Modern fast food just completely bogs the delicate machinery down, causing acid buildup, constipation, and essentially a total breakdown of the entire digestive timeline we just learned about. So, I want to leave you with this provocative thought as we wrap up today's explainer. Your beautifully complex digestive system works tirelessly to process 675 kilograms of food every single year. Now, the fast food industry might see this as a great business opportunity, but for your biology, it's often a disaster. So the choice really is yours. Are you going to use this incredible biological roadmap to process high-quality fuel, or are you going to force it to process poison? Think about that the next time your salivary glands start working. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep feeding your curiosity and your body well.